Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to talk about the tilt table test, what it is, and what was my experience with the test. So first off, let's understand what a tilt table test even is for those of you who don't know. So a tilt table test is essentially a table that is either electronic or can be manually moved, and it brings you from a laying down position to an upright position where you would be standing up. You're essentially strapped into this table, and what it does is it monitors your heart rate and your blood pressure. There are many different forms of this test, as some are more advanced and they have higher technology and more things are monitored, where some are pretty minor and it's just standardly your heart rate and your blood pressure that are being monitored. For me, I had more of an advanced test. So I had a lot more equipment hooked up to me and a lot more things were being monitored. But I'm going to start to talk about my experience. So for those of you who are questioning if you have dysautonomia or POTS, or you're having fainting episodes, anything pre-cinescope, whatever, you may be familiar with support groups. On Facebook, you can reach out to a lot of people, and there's support groups for POTS, dysautonomia, and they take people in who are even questioning so they can learn more information, and people can kind of share stories. For me, this is what I did. I wanted to know, hey, what is everybody else's experience with this, and should I be nervous about this? Should I not? I don't know. And honestly, the truth is, everybody's experience is going to be different. Every individual is going to have their own results, and that's kind of the magic of it all. However, it can be really scary when you talk to somebody who tells you about their experience and it was a negative experience. Going into this, I was really anxious, and I shouldn't have been as anxious as I was before I left. When I reached out to the community, I heard a lot of horror stories, like someone's heart rate flatlining, or people passing out or not making it, or like all this stuff. And of course nobody has died, but it's still really, really scary. Thankfully, I can say my experience compared to those was a rather positive one, and that's why I really want to share it, because I think my story can really maybe help somebody else and make them not so nervous the day before the test. So the morning of the tilt table test, I woke up and I was ready to rumble. You can't eat a certain amount of hours before, and you're not supposed to drink either. At least those are my standard procedure instructions. So it was really hard because I really run off food and I run off of salt, and even before I was diagnosed with POTS, I knew that I needed the salt or else I would be severely ill. It's also hard if you have a lot of medications that you need to take and you're already on a medication that's going to change your vitals that they want to see are abnormal. After some traveling, I finally got to the cardiologist's office and I waited in the waiting room for them to call me in. At the time, I wasn't as mobile as I am now, so I did show up in a wheelchair. I waited a few minutes and they took me into the room where I was then hooked up to a tilt table. Now, one of my biggest fears is being off the ground. With all my dizziness and all the fainting and everything like that, I don't like unstable ground. I like to be as close to the ground as I can, and I don't like any movement. So when I got on the table, at first I was a little afraid of how high the table was. My table was electric. It was not a manually moved table, so it moved with the click of a button. I got up and at first I was a little anxious, but I had a lot of really kind staff that were kind of with me that all did it themselves for scientific purposes, and they kind of walked me through. There was also 2 staff that were actually pretty close to my age that were hooking me up, and that really helped me a lot. But also, once I got up there, I realized, hey, this is kind of comfy and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So my test was more of an advanced form. So I'm going to insert pictures of my test over here and just kind of show you how much stuff I was actually hooked up to. It was pretty intense. So for me, I had blood pressure monitors on multiple limbs. I had stuff monitoring my heart rate. I had a Doppler attached to my head so they could monitor the oxygen levels into my brain and kind of receive the blood flow that was going on. And I also had something that was put onto my finger, and it was pretty painful. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of it and insert it in here. And essentially what it did was it cut off the circulation to my finger, and that was on the entire time. So like the 2 hours, and my finger like tripled in size, and it was crazy. I don't know what it does, but it was intense. So after 2 hours of me laying down and then kind of doing a whole bunch of tests, which were like just kind of strength tests and stuff like that, they finally decided that it was time to tilt me. Now, standardly here, you're supposed to be tilted and then stay up for 10 minutes. In my situation, this was not the case. I was not anxious about the initial tilt. Once I laid there, I was really calm, actually. It was really soothing just being around a whole bunch of people. There was so many people in my room. I think there was like 9 people in my room. I knew nothing was gonna go wrong. I just felt really confident where I was, and everybody was so friendly and really supportive, and that really helped me. So I think I was laying down flat after all the testing for probably over an hour. It took 2 hours for all the testing prior to that, but I was laying down flat for probably about an hour, and then that's when they decided to tilt me. So as they were tilting me, I was pretty calm, but I did feel my heart rate just kind of beating, like beat, 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 beat. And it scared me a little bit, it did. And then I get up, to the upright position, and that's when I noticed that things were kind of going wrong for me. So from the initial tilt, from being down to going up, I got completely out of breath. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and my vision was getting weird. And then after like a minute of staying up, I felt like I couldn't regulate anything, and I was just like, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna pass out, you need to put me down. And I just looked at everybody, and I'm kind of like going in and out already, like I don't really know what's going on. And then they put me down, and they were all really friendly about it. Nobody made me feel bad about it. And basically, I ended up hyperventilating when they moved me up, and they can't say if it's from anxiety or if it wasn't, but I got diagnosed with hyperadrenic POTS because my heart rate went skyrocket. My blood pressure actually remained the same, but it doesn't matter as long as your heart rate skyrockets. And surprisingly, I actually had oxygen decline from my brain. So my oxygen levels in my brain were going down as I was getting up. And that to me was scary, and they never really completely understood why. I never really got an explanation why for that. But after the test, they gave me some pretzels and some juice, and I ate some pretzels and some wheat thins, and I hung out for a while, and they gave me the results right there on the spot. I know this is probably going to be different for everybody depending on your doctor, but it honestly wasn't that bad of an experience, and I felt so confident after I conquered this that I actually pushed my wheelchair out instead of getting in it to like leave the building. So I recovered pretty well. I felt a little woozy for the next day, but it wasn't really anything that was extravagantly life-changing to me. It wasn't a miserable experience. I think that it was a pretty good experience, and honestly, sitting where I am right now, if I never did that test, I would have never got diagnosed, and I never would have been able to get any form of treatment. Now I have heart medication, and I go weekly to the cancer center for infusions, and those things have changed my life in the way I can just put all my energy into things. And like, I don't have an extreme amount of energy, no, but I at least have somewhere I can get out of bed and I'm not on bed rest anymore, which is like insane. I hope this helps you. If anybody has any questions about the tilt table test, please leave them for me down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them and help anybody who has any questions I didn't answer. But this was basically my experience. I mean, it was pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. So hopefully, if you're getting a tilt table test, if one's in your future, if you already had one and you just want to know what mine was like, we could all compare stories and stuff like that in the comments. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a good day. Bye.